I'm not sure there's a role on this planet that there are more unseen hours and more thankless hours than being a mum.
Yeah.
The great sacrifice of a mum is one of the most profound things, I think a human can do.
The epidemic of today is a lot of bad fathers. And that makes it sound like if you're watching like I'm down on fathers. No. It's actually a challenge to all of us dads to break the cycle of the fatherless nation.
We're going to jump into this. Guys, I love your music. I've loved it for years. I still remember, though, when my son first came home and said, hey, we just watched For King and Country. I said, who are they? You guys are just starting out.
For Queen and Count?
He said, that's right. I said, who are those guys? And he absolutely loved your music. And that's when I was first introduced to
How many years ago
guys.
was that?
That was several. He was a little guy. And
Wow, we're that old.
That was 40 years ago.
maybe 50, yeah. Old guy now. But I really have enjoyed what you guys have done in your music. And one of them is the song of just this idea of forging ahead, right? And you mentioned that what we were talking about the movie here on campus, Focus on the Family. The idea that a family forges ahead even when there's adversity. Talk about that a little bit for a family that is in difficulty. How do they do that? Forging ahead. What a great word.
Well, I mean that's a big one, right? I think sometimes we get a little caught up in the tremors and the freak out of when something's going wrong, that we panic a little bit. And I think for a lot of families that are going through difficult things, I think the first thing I would say is there's a lot of families that are going through very, very similar things, and that it's actually a moment to just calm down and actually recognize that there can be help, and two, you're not alone. I think one of the devil's greatest works is that he makes us feel like if we've got a kid that's going through XYZ, or maybe our marriage is going through a little bit of a lull, that we're the only people going through these things.
Right.
And I think sometimes if we can just get to a point of recognizing through community or through different people, or listen to podcasts or this channel, whatever it is, to recognize that there are actually other people going through very, very similar things, that you're just simply not alone, and that there is a way forward. I think sometimes people in their hopeless moments just need to be reminded that there is hope ahead for their family, for their kids. And I think another thing I would say is, Joel's heard me say this quite a few times, so he may laugh at me for this, but
he never laughs at you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there's a song. There's a song in Frozen 2. All right, and
Luke pulls a lot of his theology.
Great
Frozen
great Disney theology. Out of
start singing.
You edit. You have to edit right there, right? No, where whatever character sing, sometimes we just need to do the next right thing.
Sing it for him.
And next right thing.
Nice.
And I think what I would say in those families of crises, you're going through a crisis, sometimes we need to pull back, reassess, and then just start doing the next right thing. Just through and through. Hey, your kid may not, it may not turn immediately, but if we keep putting doing the next right thing in our marriages, the next right thing as parents, I think soon you'll start to see your kids change. And then in the process, hopefully, us as people, we begin to change as well.
One win at a time.
That's right.
Love that. Burn the Ships, right, is the song that you guys have sung. I've loved that. I play that often, and I know that's part of the movie.
Yeah.
Who came up with just the singing, the words to Burn the Ships?
He's being quiet because he's like, Luke, you did. No, that was one... My wife walked through a season in life that was a little bit difficult, and my hope is that I could write her a song. I sound like a normal artist trying to write their their love in a song.
Romantic.
Yeah, it sounds romantic.
Yeah.
But my wife is one of the most extraordinary people I've ever met. When you look, if she was to be here to see some of the things that she's had to overcome and work through. I mean, she nearly died when she was 18 from a disease, was told she would never have kids. Oh, wow. We have 4 kids now. There's so much here. But when she walked through this additional thing while we were married, I wanted her to feel the freedom of being able to step into a new day, you know? And so I actually just wrote the song for her. I just wanted her to, and I never even knew if the song would go do anything else other than there was like, hey, honey, this is just my hope for you. That there's things, and here's the thing that I realize is everybody has a past. Everybody's made mistakes. But sometimes we just get so caught up in our mistakes that we can't actually forge ahead.
Right.
And so for us, that terminology just became, you know, to burn the ships. You know, that's obviously an old explorer terminology where, you know, explorer goes to a land, and if they're going to conquer that land, they can't have any retreat.
Right, they can't.
Yeah.
And if you have a retreat, you'll just go back. And so when it comes to burning the ships, I think the reason why that is such a powerful terminology is because there's mistakes in our lives. Sometimes we actually get accustomed to and become friendly with our mistakes. We become friends with some of the things that haunt us. We don't know what to do with it, but if you burn it, you know, you can't attach yourself to it again. And that was my hope.
That visceral burn the ships, marching boldly into the future mindset. That is my sister-in-law Luke's wife, Courtney Smallbone.
Also an unsung hero.
To the T.
Right?
Oh,
To the T.
That's right.
Powerful woman.
So Joel, you mentioned you practice a Sabbath in your life, and how important is that when we're talking about this kind of idea that there's crisis and there's difficulty and families are struggling. There's a true struggle in life. I mean, that's a reality for many people, and God's given us that rhythm of Sabbath and resting in Him. What has that meant for you, and how are you establishing this before you have kids come to your home?
Yeah. Look, it's all trial and error, right? But you got to denote, if you're a Jesus follower, when you look at some of the most key pivotal writings, both in the Old Testament and the New, there are themes, right? And Sabbath and rest and 6 days of work and 1 day of rest. This is a very clear pattern and theme. Yeah. And it has been solidified over and over again socially. I mean, I think it was the Chinese that did did different variants of time frames for Sabbath. So they did like 1 in 10. And they literally found psychologically 1 in 7.
1 in 7.
That's the math. That's the optimal. Just on a humanistic level, that's an optimal math. And I love that God's so like spiritual and practical, and it's all physical and spiritual. You can't delineate the two.
Yeah.
So we've taken it increasingly seriously, Mariah and me, on bite-sized levels. Like each week. Yesterday, I mentioned to you off air. Yesterday was our Sabbath, and not an easy one. Actually, yesterday I'm very proud of myself because we're in the middle of promoting Unsung Hero right now, and we were in LA on Sunday and Monday for some podcasting. And we're here on a Wednesday. And they wanted me to stay in LA Monday and Tuesday. They wanted to do like a VIP screening on Tuesday night. And Mariah and I talked about it. And we were like, no, with like, partly out of self-preservation, because last time I worked 10 days straight, like my brain cracked.
he proved the China narrative.
Because they're right. They're right about that.
Oh, gee, the Chinese. But I literally got on a plane Monday evening, flew home, took yesterday off, and then got on before I am today. And I'm so grateful that I did, and I'm so grateful that we do. You have to write it into the calendar. You know, Ashley, our day-to-day manager, sitting behind the camera, she knows. And trust me when I say the world can survive without you for a day.
Maybe even
so
2.
True.
Maybe even 2 days.
You sure?
But the tricky business for us has been we work on the weekends most of the time because we're out on tour doing shows or whatnot. And so you have to actually do a whole other practice when the world is bustling for you to go, I'm going to step away. The only asterisk I would put to this now in 2024 and beyond is put your phone away.
Yeah, it's huge.
You got to.
It's huge. Yeah.
Because what ends up happening for me is, at least I'll see one message and my mind will spin on that one message the whole day. And so you're not grounding. You're not looking at it going, okay, God, you got it. You just see this one thing black and white on your phone, and it can just spin you. So that's been the big one for us.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it's like. I know in the movie, I won't give the movie away, but there's a line that says, "I miss you. The kids miss you."
Yeah.
What do you guys recommend for a dad when he hears that, or a mom, either way? What do you do in that moment? Because many times it's with good intention to provide.
Right.
Sometimes there's a single parent that is also in that place where, I mean, they're just trying their best to do what they can, and they hear, "Hey, we miss you."
You could argue that I have no authority to speak on this because I'm not a parent.
But you're setting a good rhythm.
Or you could,
Fantastic. I love it.
one could argue that I have 6 siblings, 5 of which are all parents, and I have 4 godchildren and 11 nieces and nephews and 1 on the way. So I've just studied
As an uncle.
Well, here we go. How many parents are struggling?
Let me tell you who's winning and losing as far as my siblings are concerned. That's right, Brandon. No, but look, the thing that I just realized, I think that is a rule of thumb in life, but I think it applies to being a husband and in turn being a father. The thing that Dad got so right in life, and for those who don't know, I play that glasses bearded man.
You did well.
That's actually me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I play our dad in the film, which I've said you, Danny, I dubbed an expensive therapy session. And look, it's an adventure film. It's a 90s film. It's a family film. But at the heart of it, there's this beautiful kind of love story between Helen and David, and it's subtle. But instead of it being this sort of, a lot of films depict the beginning of love, the explosion of love, the in love stage. What I love about this picture is this drops into them 16 years into marriage, 6 kids and 1 on the way, with 16 suitcases moving halfway around the planet. And it showcases the fruition of love and the constant of love. And the dad choosing mum every day and mum choosing dad every day, and dad prioritizing mum and mum, particularly mum prioritizing dad, and how that choice as a couple filters down to the kids. Like if they stayed in step with each other, we were so unsafe as kids, Luke and I, in this film, as far as healthcare, as far as poverty levels, as far as halfway around the world from our extended family. But we have both talked through this process and said we felt so safe in mum and dad's love. And then it was just an adventure for us, you know.
And they still struggled in their marriage with each other in this process. And I wonder, you know, in the movie, your dad asks himself, "What kind of father am I?" Have you ever asked that question in fathering four kids? What kind of father am I? And what's the follow-up to that when a dad asks that question of himself? Then what do we do with the answer?
No, that's a great question. I mean, I think I probably evaluate my being a dad a lot because I think being a father is the greatest title I'm given. And I say that because some people would be, wouldn't husband be that? And I say, well, no, I think father because without my wife, I'm not a father. And my wife gives me that title, and what I have in return is a son or a daughter who is both of us. It is our love demonstrated. So father's the greatest title that I'm given. It's the one job I don't want to fail at. And so I think for me, you know, what kind of father am I? Man, I want to be known as a father that my kids can come and approach about anything. That I will not be shocked by the mistake that they've made. But that takes patience, takes self-control. It takes asking the question of what type of father am I? Because it's easy to ask questions.
Yes,
it's very difficult to answer them. Yeah. And I think when you're asking questions about yourself, I think you have to be really honest. I think honestly, if you're speaking to someone who there's a father and a mother in this situation, I'd say, what kind of father am I? hey, honey, what kind of father am I?
That's right. And be ready for the
And
answer.
be ready for the answer. Because, I think that for some fathers, it's easier to be a good father than it is a good husband. And it needs to be around the other way. We need to be a husband who is a great father, not a father who's a good husband.
That's a good word. How do you think you show up differently for each of your kids as a dad?
Yeah.
Each one's unique.
Yeah,
right?
each man. I mean, Joel knows this because he sees them.
Fifth child.
That's right.
Shows up completely differently from me.
No, I mean, you have to know your kids. One of the things that has been really wonderful about this career is I do travel a lot, and a lot of people will be like, "Oh, that's got to be terrible though," because you get the call of, "Hey, we miss you," But one of the things that we've turned it into is I bring one of the kids with me virtually everywhere we go. I haven't today, but last time I was here, actually, I think Jude was with me.
That's right.
So I got Jude, Phoenix, Leo, and then we have a little girl named Evie. And one of the great gifts is that I know them so well individually. So
It's taking time.
it's just taking time. Yeah. My Jude is kind, and he has a tender heart. So I got to be careful how hard I push.
He is stubborn.
He's very stubborn. Then I got my Phoenix who, hopefully they don't ever watch this, but then I got my Phoenix who is extremely mature. He's also extremely good, but he trusts in his goodness. So he has a little bit of pride. Then I got my Leo who is just, I don't know how much I've ever had to discipline him because he's so correctable. So I just have a chat with him and he's like, I don't want to disappoint. He's extremely hard on himself though. Mm-hmm. So then you've got to encourage him. Perfectionism. Yeah. And then I got Evie, and so that's the three boys. And so the three boys, and you can be
She's going to be well protected.
That's right. She's and those boys love her. They love her, which is beautiful. I'm trying to protect that they just love her because it's a beautiful thing right now. But those three boys, you can be tough with boys. Boys we live in a day and age where there's like soft parenting, and I'm not a counselor or a doctor, so I can say these things differently than you can. But I'm just like, man, I need my boys to be men. I need my boys to be tough. So, there's the moments for compassion. There's also great moments for strength with boys. But the fascinating thing when you get used to, I've gotten used to raising boys, is that now I'm throwing this little girl, And then there's this, I
tugged at a different place in your heart. Oh yeah,
different place in my heart.
Different place.
And then when I correct her, I barely say anything, and she's in tears, and I'm like, "Oh, Lord have mercy." I didn't even. No, Evie, I didn't mean it like that. No, come here. And then she's a basket case for 15 minutes and requires 30 minutes of snuggles before she's, and I love that. I told my son the other day that I was proud of him. And he texted me back. He said, "I'm proud of you too, Dad. You're doing much better." I was like, "Much better, okay." And so I said, "Dad," I said, "Hey, Jude, how am I doing much better?" And he goes, "Well, you're just much more lovable these days." And I was like, "I wonder if that's because I have a little daughter now."
Interesting. Softened you up.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So we have. You have instilled in your lives self-confidence since you were little kids.
Yeah.
Right? You've had a self-confidence instilled in you. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Your parents spoke life into each of you individually. Yeah. What was that like for you? Because there's a confidence in Christ that you guys have built, right, and a self-confidence that is laced with humility or undergirded with humility. And I've loved that. What have your parents done to instill that in your home? Because this is a culture of your home.
Yep.
A foundation of humility.
Yep.
Yet you've reached certain heights, and you have confidence as you do that. What has that been? What would that look like growing up for you guys?
Sometimes I have called it an unreasonable homeschooler self-confidence.
Which is a whole different type of
confidence. A whole different one.
Because you just, it's the kind of confidence that you go, you've not really had the corners chipped off you, or you haven't had the visceral school experience where, the bullying and all of these other things. You just have this unreasonable confidence. And I think, Dan, if we had met each other 20 years ago, it'd be a different question.
Really?
Because and there was a beauty in banding together as a family and traveling, but that ecosystem even of we had to push and pull on each other, but even the confidence of traveling and doing background vocals for Rebecca. I know I can speak on behalf of myself, who's probably more prone to believe in my own publicity more than Luke is, that I was unreasonably self-confident. And it's taken every day of my adult life, I'm 40 in 2 months, to get to a place, by the grace of God, and as you well said, marvelous parents who have their 49th wedding anniversary this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
To come to a place of the balance of God confidence, self-confidence, humble confidence, and ultimately I think confidence in something greater than yourself, like understanding that there are 1,000 things that you had nothing to do with that make you who you are. Your very biology, your giftedness, the life experiences that you were born into, our elder sister being a musician. And when you start having that look back, and frankly, the film did a lot of that for me on another level too, looking back and going, oh, gee, Mum, you're going through that. And I now have these images of seeing as an adult, wearing the very jacket that my dad wore 30 years ago when they moved continents, going, that's what you were going through, Mum. And then looking at my dad and viscerally interacting as him, going, oh, gee, that's what you were going through. And so my confidence, again, by the grace of God, is built on so much more than just some sort of homeschooler, naive worldview. And I'm very thankful. And I know there's a lot of people that don't have the beauty of parents being together for 49 years, and the beauty of a bunch of siblings.
And Luke, what about you? What was instilled in you?
I think words are incredibly powerful. I think from parents to kids, it's amazing what a child thinks, how they think about themselves in regards to it. For the most part, it has everything to do with what is spoken over them. I was very fortunate to have parents that told me that I could do. You know what I mean? I think when you're a child, you're less powerful. You're small. You've got to look up to adults, and you've got to find kind of you know your place in the world. You know you're in some cases insignificant. That's what you feel, but you grow. What has to happen between growing and full maturity? You actually have to start saying I can. And I think our parents were really, really good. I never forget the first time I was asked to lead worship at my church, and I was meant to be the guy. And I was 18 or something. And in some cases you look back and you're like, yeah, you should have been able to do that at 18. But I was like, I don't know, I can't do this, And so I told,
self-doubt kicks
that's
in,
right.
right?
And so I said no to the guy. He called me up, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. And then something in my spirit said, I don't know, I should go talk to my mom about this. I went and talked to my mom, still remember where I was once again. And she was in the kitchen working on something. I said, hey, I got this call. And she just said, why wouldn't you say yes to that? Nice. I was like, well, I don't have the, look, you know how to do all of those things. You've been around this your whole life. You absolutely know how. Mm-hmm. So I think that any new dream, any new opportunity is incredibly fragile. And I think sometimes it takes a parent or an uncle or somebody of influence in your life to say you can. And that gives you just enough for you to be able to say, maybe so.
Man, I love that. I have a gift for you guys. So these are chalk markers I use with parents. And you can do it with your spouses.
You have to say chalk markers.
Chalk.
Liquid
markers.
chalk. Oh, these are cool.
The markers.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Chalk markers.
And the idea with this is that you bring life-giving words to your kids.
Yeah.
So wherever they're going to see themselves in the mirror, and you to your spouse, you write unique things, those words, like you were talking about, powerful words. I wonder what words you would write to your kids. I thought about the first time when I wrote those to my son and my daughter, I had to calculate where they were going to see themselves, right? Do the circle and the heart. And then they ended up writing some for my wife and I as well.
Wow.
And that was powerful to hear those words and to think about life-giving words being a part of the home.
It's really good.
Because it's so easy for words to go a different direction.
Yeah.
Out of self-doubt, insecurity, other things that spill out, projection. Yeah, big word. That's a good one. Yes. I mean, that's huge. There's dynamics within families. And a dad can begin a life-giving word home, right? Where there's that life-giving sense that you were talking about, where there are words that are powerful that can change a direction in a child's life. They gain confidence and begin to see more of who God created them to be. And sometimes parents have that insight and believe more in their kids than they do. They say, no, you got it. You can do this. I believe in you. Sometimes kids need to hear that. We don't want to forget that. So lastly, as I wrap up, I just want to, let's talk uniquely the importance of dads and importance of moms in the home. So let's start with the importance of moms, because this is the movie, Unsung Hero. Let's talk about that. What is the importance of a mom in a child's life? What do you guys think?
Again, you got to recognize that people watching, people listening, that you find yourself in every level of the spectrum of you're a mom on your own. I was talking to someone a few days ago. She's like, my mom's a hero. She was a single mom of 7, you know, and there's grace for that, you know, that you might have come from a broken home and your mom is the last thing from your unsung hero. And there's grace for that. And vice versa, be it fathers, broken homes, broken marriage. And we all have to grapple with this reality, right? We have a very specific family life that we've been very fortunate, and I think we understand more daily than ever how fortunate we are to have been born into the family that we were born into. But I do want to recognize mums. Part of the reason we wanted to call this Unsung Hero is because I'm not sure there's a role on this planet that there are more unseen hours and more thankless hours than being a mum.
Yeah.
The very act of carrying something and giving your viscerally, like I keep saying that word, but giving your body every fiber of your being to sustain an extra life. Your body is misshapen, or I would reshaped, at least would be the best way to put it. And, you know, and then there's awful pain on the other side. Like the great sacrifice of a mum is one of the most profound things, you know, I think a human can do.
Many are exhausted.
Yeah.
Right. In the trying to care for the everyday needs, being present, being there.
Well, and then after that 9 months, then they need more sustenance literally from you. And then after that, they don't sleep ever. Like from what I'm told, at least, you know. And so recognizing the unseen hours, I think that was part of this film for mums, is going, man, you are like genuinely unsung heroes and you don't get recognized. So I hope mums feel seen. I really do.
I believe they will with this movie. Fantastic writing on that to show the strength of your mom, but also the honoring of all moms. What about the importance of dads? What do you guys, what do you think? What does that look like?
I think that the epidemic of today is a lot of bad fathers. And that makes it sound like if you're watching, like I'm down on fathers. No. It's actually a challenge to all of us dads to break the cycle of the fatherless nation. I think that we have. There's so many fathers that have that title, but they're just not visible in their home. And they're doing other things versus just being in their home. And look, I someone came to our church not too long ago, and he was talking about the importance of fathers. And I think that if I'm not mistaken, you guys would know it. You're the doctor here, but he said something like, if church attendance is any an indicator of what happens in the home, if a father goes to church with his kids, 83% of the time, those kids, when they've left the home, will follow suit. And my jaw just dropped. Because it's not necessarily about the statistic in the sense of them going, it shows the influence.
Yeah.
But if you're not showing up as a dad, I think a lot of fathers have to instill in our kids right from wrong. Fathers have to instill how to treat their mother, how to treat ladies in their life. It comes from it comes from us as men. And so I can get a little tough on fathers because I think there's a lot of fathers that mail it in. And I think it's so much more important than can ever be realized, how the role of a father. It's the same, it goes both ways. Fathers and mothers, they have a distinct role. And if we want our kids to thrive, we need to do our best. Not perfect, because it's impossible. And sometimes what I can beat myself up about is like, man, even this, I'm like, I've never done this before. I'm a terrible father. Right now, And so you start to feel, I need to do more. No, sometimes it's just the gift that you are as a father to show up, go through the ball with the kids, even if it's for 15, 20 minutes. You don't understand how much a difference that makes. My dad used to always say, son, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be your father. I think that's a very true statement. But what I've realized as a father is I cannot father well without friendship with my kids. I have to have conversation. I have to have them look at me as someone who's a safe place. And when that is happening, I can father. I can course correct. I can show discipline, but I can also show grace when grace is needed. But if I gotta know my kids first.
Yeah, and that affection and warmth is just key for dads to show. And I know your dad did that with you guys, and let you know that he loved you. And
he had his own unique way of showing it.
Yeah, but he's a social guy. He's fun.
He's
a
fun guy.
If you want to make dad awkward, go give him a proper bear hug.
Yeah. A big hug. Yeah. Okay, I'll do that next time when I meet him.
That's right.
I'll make sure I hug him.
That's
I'll
right.
hug him tight.
And hold him.
Yeah, just hold on for a while.
You should.
But that affection and love from a dad is tremendous. And sometimes as dads we skip over that. I know with my kids, I've loved just stopping, looking in their eyes and saying, I love you.
I know.
And I want you to know that. We need to be doing that.
My 11-year-old will still hold my hand sometimes. Yeah. And man, I'm going to cherish that.
Yes. Yeah.
Luke still holds my hand.
Yeah, does he? He holds your hand?
I don't want to do that.
Does that feel good? Does that
it
feel
does.
better?
It makes
you
me
feel
feel better.
safe.
I feel safe.
Hey guys, thank you for being on the show with me. And here at Focus on the Family, we love what you're doing. We love partnering with you. And we hope many people watch this film and afterwards just invest in their families.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.